good.
Is it acceptable hard to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
The bad.
I'm scratching my head. The performances was just lacked that intensity.
And the amber.
Off the balls. Performance rankings.
Arthur D, we're starting with Munster.
Only one place to start, yeah. End of Limerick's bid for 7 in a row. Cork's first Munster title since 2018.
2018, yeah, that's right. They'd won back to back then.
Happy? Over the moon.
It was unbelievable. Like there's so many emotions. So they were level 17 different times in this match. Yeah, I was absolutely certain that Aaron Gillan was going to nail that free at the end. Certain from the wide angle.
I wasn't.
Tough enough. No, I didn't.
It was on his week. I actually still thought it was going to go over right to the last second watching it on TV. Then when Darragh Fitzgibbon has the long range free, like I thought, he's going to put this in the mixer and see what happens. But then Nicky Quaid, like, you know, we were waxing lyrical about Nicky Quaid all the time. We all do. We basically did half a piece on it on Friday.
Right,
and then it
he was brilliant though, overall.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. But then you saw what happened with Darragh Walsh yesterday in the Leinster final, and Nicky Quaid was like, for one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, Tommy, for it to square him under the body. It was like, I thought for a split second, I thought it had rolled in.
Well,
I
actually think that the fact that I think nearly everyone thought it rolled. I think it rolls in by most keepers. That one, it kind of bounces and dribbles right in front of him. I think the 65 was kind of the best scenario for Limerick in that one. Like,
oh yeah,
I thought it was in the back of the net.
Yeah, I really did. So then you have that emotion. The ref going there with cramp is just like one of the most amazing sights. Which just goes to show the running. Was it who was talking to you? You talked to a good few players after from Cork.
Mark Coleman.
Mark Coleman was talking about the first half. He said he didn't enjoy it all because it was so difficult. Like,
well, Coleman put in an unbelievable shift in the first half, so I'd say that was an element of it. But
yeah, but the running of the Limerick forwards particularly said it was just insane.
I think it was Henry Shefflin on the gantry there with Joanne Cantwell and Donal Logue, and I can't remember who else was in on RT for the Sunday game. But Shefflin said he had met Thomas Welch and the refereeing team. Sheedy was for a cup of tea. And that's like when you're in early, like, and you had to be in early in the Gaelic grounds. Gavin James was playing a set beforehand.
Did you see it?
I was there, of course I was there. She had to be in early.
Yeah, did you see it?
Yeah,
was it 40 minutes?
Well, yeah, and Gavin gave it his all, and you know, I think he's a fine singer, but I don't think it was a tough crowd.
Place for it.
No, it was a tough crowd for him, like, and he tried to get the place going with a couple of ole-oles, and it just wasn't happening for him. Because you know why? Because the drinking crowd aren't in yet.
Yeah.
The drinking crowd aren't in till 5 to 6.
It's like half 4, isn't it?
Like, yeah, so it's a tough go. It's tough, but I like kind of what they're doing and what they're trying to do in Munster. So they've done it a couple of times with a couple of different setups beforehand. But Shefflin said that he had met Walsh for a cup of tea earlier on. When you're milling about, you come across very interesting people and you can have a couple of conversations. Apparently they were doing a big fitness test in Abbottstown, the referees, on Wednesday. So
you're saying that,
you know, like, if you're not taking your electrolytes during the week, if you're not loading up on the water, you're not getting your salts in, Colm, and you're not blowing the whistle.
He made the point.
You're going to cramp.
He made the point in commentary where it's like neither of these teams would have been doing anything like that during the week.
It was reckless.
You wouldn't be doing hard running the week before that game, like.
No.
But he looked visibly gone before, a fair bit before, even how he was walking. You could see.
Walsh you're talking about?
Yeah, you could just see like how he was kind of, that's not. It doesn't look good, man. It doesn't look good.
Well,
4 minutes into extra time, so you imagine even standing around between full time and extra time wouldn't have done him any favours.
Just had that slight thing in the. Even you can see it yesterday with the tennis, where the lads have been sitting down for a while and they get back up and it's just a bit gingerly.
Well, how they were able to keep going after 5 hours and 29 minutes
was just.
But Alcaraz got bloody like his shots, his actually the variation of his shots actually got better as it went on. It was reckless.
If you showed some of the shots and said what part of the match, but look, this match had.
I was watching with another
everything.
Tommy Walsh though.
Say again?
I was watching the game with another Tommy Walsh.
Yeah, you were.
Morris Brosnan put the photo up of Welsh stretching just before time started.
Yeah.
But like, once you're doing that, once you're stretching the hammer and you know you're on the way to cramping, once you're fatiguing like that, you haven't got long left. You just haven't. The legs are going to go on you.
That's right. So, look, the penalties discussion of that is a separate entry into the performance rank. So let's just talk about the match itself, Arthur. Like, there's absolutely nothing here between the sides, really, is there? It felt to me that Limerick were a little bit short of where they could be. Obviously wasn't anywhere near what it was like 3 weeks ago. And Cork turned up, but it was still very flawed by both sides. Like, even if you look at like Patrick Horgan missing a load of easy frees by his standards, there was a load of wides, so it was a flawed game. And both sides weren't quite 100%, but it made for, as Tommy's already put it, like unforgettable fair, really.
He's had a very mixed year.
Pat Horgan?
Yeah.
Well, he's taken off relatively early in the grand scheme of things, what happens. And when the penalties were about to start, I was like, I could see him in the tracks, and I was like, geez, you could do with him for this.
And Limerick were cute enough to bring on Jamie Burns in the final seconds.
They just got a man. Yeah. They just got a man. But I thought when Limerick scored the first goal, like, it was so easy for them. Like, Owen Downey was poor for that goal. Patrick Collins probably could have made himself look bigger at the near post. I didn't think it was going to be a repeat of 3 weeks earlier, but I thought, like, it's going to be similar. At that point.
It's a tough one, because you are like, so Cork had 50 odd chances in this, so they had a lot of wides. I don't know. I really don't know what way to make of it. I feel like it reminded me, like, the quality and the intensity was obviously off the charts compared to it, but it reminded me a little bit of the league game between them in, like, February down in Cork, where it was wet. And I was just shocked by how slippery it seemed underfoot and how much kind of loose ball. Now, that's a lot of that's down to intensity as well and the tackle and stuff, but just a lot of, I don't think the game would have played out at all that way, say, if they meet again in Croke Park in July. And there's a part of me, because you're coming in all these things, obviously you're coming into it somewhat biased, but there's a part of me that thinks that system that Limerick were trying to do by getting it out to the left and then those diagonals across to Galan and thing, I know it sounds so silly, like, but I just feel if the ground is a little harder underfoot, I think they reap a lot more damage there.
Oh, I think you're on to something, right? Because Aidan O'Connor gets his goal.
Yeah.
Could have had much more. The Butter Brian comes in. He plunders 1-2, sets up a couple of more. But Galan's touch. See the Bergkamp-esque touch to set him off for the goal? Like, absolutely beautiful.
Is it with his foot or with his hurdy?
Foot.
It was his foot. I think the quality on Saturday evening in the Munster final, it was enthralling, right? And I've seen this kind of debate online a little bit as well. It was still an epic.
Yeah.
Given, right? But I think it's more so to do with the fallibility, I suppose, of the teams. Yeah. Like the Clare Limerick or the Clare Cork All-Ireland final last year, it was nearly the infallibility. The fact that Tony Kelly was doing what he was doing, that Fitzgibbon was doing what he was doing, that the shooting efficiency levels were off the charts. But like they were clearly all off it a little bit. Like the Cork full forward line. Forget the Horgan.
Yeah.
Like, Hayes, for his perseverance, to me, Brian Hayes, had a huge influence as the game went on. Alan Connolly comes back on and redeems himself with the penalty. But Connolly doesn't get into it, and he can't get into it. Hayes can't really fully influence the game the way he did last year, because then in Porky Queeve, Patrick Collins' puckouts onto Brian Hayes was part of the reason they really won that game, and they saved their summer. Similar in the All-Ireland semi-final. I think there's so much more, which is the really interesting thing we're going to see. There's so much more that we're going to see from these teams in an All-Ireland semi-final, if Limerick get there, where they might meet Kilkenny, and B, Cork, depending on who they face in an All-Ireland semi-final. I think we're going to see this again in July.
I think so. I still think they're the two best teams.
Yeah,
it was a strange game. The intensity was off the charts, but the quality was a bit low.
And that can happen, though.
Yeah, and I don't. It does. It's shaping up well, but as I don't know, I just don't know what way it'll go. I really don't, because I know that's like it's almost like the kind of everyone we had on during the week from a Cork perspective was just kind of like almost the result is kind of secondary. It's just the performance. So they've kind of got that defeat. An
easy thing to focus on, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just like, because I think I will come to it. Like, I think what we can do here is we can put the Munster final in the green anyway, just for drama.
Totally. Yeah, we'll get to the penalty. This thing will just start. Declan Hannon comes on.
Yeah.
Scores the point straight away at the start of extra time. Brian Hayes, you mentioned there, like when he puts it across the box, and was that the first half? It was like that was a tap in for someone from Cork, but like even if the angle he was going,
rolls by the square.
Yeah, and Alan Connolly, you're right, he was quiet. Also, the head of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was unbelievable.
Oh, sorry, can I make one more point?
Go ahead. Yeah,
Alan Connolly puts a TikTok up after the game. Do you see this?
He's some interviewee, to be fair to him. Go on.
No.
Yeah, so Connolly puts a TikTok. There's a TikTok going up from, I'm 99% sure it's Alan Connolly's official TikTok account, and it's the lads singing Killa from Kingfisher in the dressing room. Do you know the song Killa? I'm not going to sing it for you now, but look it up afterwards. But it's written about a club in Cork who have gone up to senior. Oh, lads, you have to know this song. But anyways, it's become one of the great GA dressing room songs. But it goes up with all the Cork boys singing it in the dressing room. And what's there but a tactics board? Very visible.
I saw, yeah.
You can see the setup of the team, and it's essentially the setup that they had for the... Now, it's not rocket science. I'm sure Kinnerk had it figured out 5 minutes into the game, but it's a funny little insight.
Well, is that the one where they have kind of, it's the way they're approaching Hayes?
Yeah.
Because that makes for a very interesting thing the next day as well.
Yeah.
Because it'll depend what anyway, we'll come back to it.
All right, so the Munster final couldn't be
Munster
greener.
final's green, yeah.
Michael, penalties are a horrible way to end a game like that. Fountainstown's forward and penalties in hurling are fantastic. What do you say, Arthur?
They're shite. It's silly. I know there's a schedule, I know there's everything else, but it's not even an intrinsic skill of the game. Like, it's a ridiculous thing. At least if you do it like the rugby, do point taking. It's pointless. Like it's not like a skill of. It's not a close enough skill of the game, I think, to be kind of. You've just imported it from soccer effectively and gone, sure, this is how everyone sorts it, so this is how we've sorted. I know you can't keep playing forever. I know you can't keep going like American football or whatever, where they just keep playing until thing, and you can't have a next score wins type thing, because you can score from anywhere, like, so it's not. But and I don't know what you do, but
there's something.
Yeah.
Even watching the penalty shootout in the Nations League final last night, and I don't think it's that we're so used to it in soccer. I just think there's something jarring to the rhythm of a hurling game that is decided by penalties. I think that's nearly more so. Like, it's such a frenetic, frantic, mental sport. Whereas soccer, I don't know whether it's the flow of it, and obviously that was a great game of football last night between Portugal and Spain, but it nearly makes, it's a low scoring sport. Do you know, like, it nearly makes sense that it's decided by big moments of quality, 12 yards from goal, and I can understand it. But in hurling, like, it looks so alien, Declan Hannon striking that ball. And I felt so sorry for him. Like, the most successful captain of all time, and probably a leadership role. I'm not sure it was a natural thing. I'm not sure how many penalties Hannon has hit in his life, whether it be for Adair or Limerick, but obviously he was a free taker back in the day when he was more of a forward, when he first broke through at Limerick. But yeah, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a natural ending to the game. And I got this video. It was absolutely, the scene was absolutely mental. Like, it was historic. The colours around the Gaelic grounds, like, it had already started to get more red than green. Forget about the pitch, but the sky had gone a little red already. It kind of felt like it was going to be Cork's. But it just didn't feel like the way to decide it. And I think in the GA, there's a lore around replays. And I think it's nearly said the kind of like this cheap kind of a dig at the GA. Oh, they want the replay, or the referee played for a replay. They're delighted. The coffers will be full. But it's more so than the coffers. Like, they're experiences for people. Like, it's Porky Queeve packed to the rafters.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's the insanity of trying to get tickets. It's the players trying to get right for a week's time. It's the fact that maybe the intensity levels mightn't be as much, but the quality might go up, or vice versa. They might go through the roof. Like, and it's the wee changes. It's the wee things that people will pull in a week, like what changes you make to a team. Even you go back to like 2012, like Walter Walsh. Absolutely.
Or Shane O'Donnell.
Yeah, but it's the narrative too. It adds that extra layer to the history, and like, obviously Meath in Dublin in the 90s is one that sticks in the memory, but like, they have to end at some stage, and they will end at some stage.
Yeah.
And I think even next year, I know we're going to stop for provincial finals. There's going to be a replay, but even still, I still think there's going to be that jarring element if a Cork Limerick game goes to a replay and it ends on penalties. I don't know. We might just have to look at it again. Yeah.
I don't mind it. I think is there a fear of the soccerification of GAA?
I don't know if it's
because
that.
I mean, goals win games in GAA as well. Like, goal scoring is part of the game. Like, I mentioned the Nicky Quaid incident. If that had rolled in, Cork had won the game. So like, goals are part of it. It is a skill in hurling. Taking penalties is a skill in the game. It's not like they borrowed something from another sport that has nothing to do with the match at all. Penalties exist in hurling.
Yeah, but like,
I don't know. I just think a replay, it just gives you so much.
It gives so much.
I think it makes it even more memorable this occasion. I think, and I'm talking long term. I'm talking I'm talking like, look, the thing about Munster hurling in general is that like, every game is so great that we talk about all the time.
It's not,
like
Munster hurling championship this year wasn't great.
They're so memorable by and large. Okay, this is the first year that was kind of underwhelming. But every other year, every other year has been amazing.
It's not.
Hold on now. You could make a top 10 list of the greatest Munster games the last 5 years, and it would be a tough entry, right? So everything's quite memorable. But even this, by Munster hurling standards, is memorable, and I think the penalties added to it. Like, it was a flawed way to end the game, Arthur. That was a flawed game. Like, that was the beautiful thing about Saturday. I thought, I didn't mind it. I really didn't. I was quite happy that it all ended.
It's not even thing, right? You can like the penalties, but it's the reason why they're happening.
Go on, yeah.
There's no reason for it to happen.
Do
you think the replay could have been this coming weekend?
But I know it would muck up the whole schedule, and basically the loser would have to play 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
which is tough, like because you're at a fairly competitive. You're playing 4 games in 5 weeks or something, probably. But I just don't think that's a good enough excuse. Like I don't think we need to be in a position where, it has to be done tonight. You couldn't possibly do this again.
What's the fear
God
of
forbid,
that,
like.
What's the fear of getting it all said and done?
Because why are we in a rush?
Well, I mean, I think we're in too much of a rush overall. Well, in this instance, I don't have too much of a problem.
Look, there's no getting away from it. The scenario at the minute with the split season, we are snookered in the sense that the room there, right?
It is.
There's also like, there's another thing as well. Like, obviously you can move it around, but like, there's concerts set for August in Croke Park. There's big revenue coming in from that. There's NFL games. There's a big rugby game in Croke Park next week. The actual, the way the calendar is set up now, I think we can rip up the script and we can have another look at it again. I'm not saying to totally do away with the split season, but there has to be a room, I think, to add to this lore. There's a lot of comments there saying that Limerick fans are the ones crying for a replay. I don't think that's what's going on here. I just think that
I'd say the same if Cork last.
In Gaelic games, I think it can just add to the lure of what we have and the stories that we have and just the rivalries that are there. Like, I'd love to be ripping up the script of my plans next weekend to be sent down to Porky Queeve to cover that replay. It would just add so much more to it.
We better move on. In split season fashion, we're split on this. You want this in red? Absolutely. You want this in red as well?
What, the penalties?
Yeah.
Stick it in. Oh, whatever. Yeah, boys you're the boss.
It's
effective effort. I'm going to go amber, personally. What do you want?
I'd say red.
What you can decide it.
Stick it in amber because we're left with it at the minute. But it's
good man. No, it's good to have nuance. Galway hurlers. So they were 13 points down. Tommy and Arthur with about just 11 or 12 minutes left or so. They got it back to 4 points. So it ended up being a decent Leinster final.
Yeah, you know about Galway's fake comeback? No, I don't want to hear about
nonsense.
Hey, nonsense. I honestly don't want to hear about this. Like, so
disappointed. They nearly caught them.
No, it was nonsense.
So disappointed yesterday with Galway.
Poor Darrell was.
So disappointed. No, like that was that didn't
only
even
4 points in the
that
game
didn't even
that
matter.
night.
Oh no, man! The game was a dead duck. It was actually, and the sentiment that I could feel off a couple of Galway people I knew was the goal goes in before half time. Mossy Colm puts it away, and Kilkenny,
the rebounder,
Kilkenny went for the neck, right? Paddy Deegan put a long ball into TJ Reid just beforehand. Reid gets done for over carrying. Next ball goes in. Deegan from the left into Reid, wins it. Could have taken his point. No, goes on the mind, goes for the jugular. Keoghan puts away the rebound. It felt like that was Galway's plan gone. Like that, that they just, not that they gave up. And I know Micheál Donoghue was raging with it and they didn't really play to the game plan they have, but it was like the fire was extinguished from them. The next thing, Kilkenny go 13 points clear. 42 minutes Galway went without a player named Colm Mannion scoring. And they were outscored like 7 points to, I think, 2-14 in that spell. Don't talk to me about the fake comeback when Sean Lang gets the point and they tag on 1-6. No, that's not a comeback.
Colm Mannion, and also, by the way, it was just Freeze that Colm Mannion was scoring in the second half.
No. This is not a diss at Mannion. Like Mannion, there's a heavy burden on him, and Whelan came deep and tried to influence the game from out deep, and it just wasn't happening. It's just the standard of Leinster isn't good enough. I was putting it to Derek Ling afterwards. He was asked by Conor McKeown, have you been road tested properly? They obviously haven't. I was sort of getting at all the talk that we get about Kilkenny and that great Kilkenny team that the standards are set in training. Are they able to raise their levels for the next couple of weeks? Because they're going to be facing a Limerick team that are licking their lips. It's going to be interesting, but I don't know. I just think we're due another. I know Tip are going to have a say here.
Yeah.
I just think we're due another. The story of the weekend was Clare, really, but we'll get to it again.
We'll get to that. Eamon Sweeney, Irish Independent. Leinster hurling is GA's problem child. Kilkenny will be better off in Munster.
I don't think it's their problem child, but it's just not great.
It's definitely not the worst of their problems.
There's a lot more problems than the
So
GA.
Galway in the red? No doubt about it?
Yeah, it was really disappointing, but utterly predictable as well at the same time.
Seems like a long time ago now, Arthur. Ireland won, Senegal won, our favourite results back in action Friday night.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not much to say about this, man. Have you anything to say?
All right.
They did. No, they were good. They were good for a start.
I'm not getting excited about friendlies in June. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not. I don't care. I'm not. It's fine. It's fine. They didn't lose. Got some new, like a little bit of new blood in there. It's Casey McAteer's first goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. His first start.
That's great. Look, I think it's doing a nice amber-coloured job. I think it's just right there.
I would say
you can't have a green for Ronaldo.
I would say it's green performance. The result is irrelevant, lads.
How many greens can we have?
You can do what you want.
We had one of the greatest finals in any sport.
He's afraid of offending.
Hey, hold on a second. Put them in amber.
Senegal were unbeaten in 20 games.
Senegal had a shadow team out.
20 games.
They had a shadow team.
Didn't have their best player.
Didn't have their best players, and they came on in the second half, and they were much better. And Ireland still hung with them. I thought we were going to get beaten well.
You have the bar set so low.
Colm,
Oh,
come
listen,
on,
the bar
How many
in Irish
people-
football is set very low, lads.
There was more people
Relax.
in Croke Park than there were in the Aviva, right?
Yeah, but there were more people in the view for the football than there were for rugby.
How many are going to be in the rugby this weekend in Croke Park?
Well,
That's
I mean,
gonna be-
that's
Was it 15,000 on Saturday?
Well, you leave rugby alone for now. This is we're trying to find out which colour Hamer Hargreaves' side should go on.
Amber.
I'm going to say green, but you're both going
both
amber.
amber.
So
doing well to get into the amber.
We'll go with that. Now, French Open final. Someone there threatened to unsubscribe if we didn't touch on it, and we're going to touch on it in spectacular fashion because we're joined on the line now, I believe. Yes? No, not yet. But we will talk about this. So Carlos Alcaraz against Yannick Sinner. 5 hours and 29 minutes of play in Cork. Philippe Chatrier yesterday. Tommy Rooney, even you watched it.
No, well, I watched the end of it and I watched the highlights back. House of Highlights on YouTube had a 12-minute breakdown of the game, but it was more so. I was obviously in Croke Park. This game went on for 5 hours and 29 minutes. You're tuning into TNT when you get back after it, like, and you know, tennis for a lot of people, I'm sure, and Colm, you're not one of them. Like, you love tennis, you still do. Like, tennis was up there as one of the sports that I regularly watched. It's probably been replaced more by golf more for me in the last 5-6 years. But like, I'm able to get back into this if Sinner and Alcaraz are going to do what they're doing over the next decade. Like, if that rivalry is there, and sports need rivalries, and like what I found really interesting was watching the I suppose the ceremony afterwards, and the ridiculous levels of respect, the magnanimous nature of Sinner's speech and then Alcaraz's, and they actually really like each other, it seems. Like, we need a little bit more hatred there, and I think Sinner might have to do that because I think he's been beaten now. I think Alcaraz is maybe 7-3 ahead in the rivalry or something like that.
Yeah,
7-4
you're
or
right.
8-4 maybe.
He's won the last 5 matches against them, Alcaraz.
Yeah, but Alcaraz has saved a lot of championship points and match points against Sinner as well.
It was a remarkable match, really. It should have been done in 4. So Yannick Sinner has 3 championship
How
points.
did it feel to you?
What?
So what age? You're now generously mid-30s.
Yeah, not generously, exactly. Go on.
So I'm just thinking it's like, about 15, 20 years ago, you're seeing the same sort of timeline with Federer and Nadal, right? So that Wimbledon's about
Same age as Nadal, but
7,
Nadal
8.
wins his first.
Okay.
Or fifth.
Sorry,
his fifth.
it's not the
His
same
fifth.
age. It is exactly the same age in years,
3 months.
months and days.
In days,
Do you
yeah.
get? Do you know that?
No.
Exactly.
From his fifth
he is to
Grand
the
Slam.
day the same age as Rafael Nadal was. Nadal also won his 5th Grand Slam. So in layman's terms, he's 22. He's extremely young.
Yeah.
How you're asking me how does it feel?
Comparatively, yeah. Have you changed as a viewer for the 15-year gap?
So you're probably referring to the 2008 Wimbledon final, Federer and Nadal.
Yeah,
Different
well,
time in my life, like,
take it as a point, yeah.
Going off to Turkey on lads' holiday, and now I'm home with a baby, like, so it's different look at it. But the thing about these two boys is, like, they're playing like they're already the 2 best players of all time. The level of play so late into that historical final last night was so high that it already makes Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic look, they're grand. These 2 boys are insane. And on that note, we are joined by the tennis journalist Simon Cambers, who was live in Court Philippe Chatrier to watch this magical event. Simon, good morning.
Morning, how are you doing?
How do you sum this up?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still exhausted from it. I mean, we were commentating on radio for 5.5 hours all the way through. And as you said, they were still banging it at each other right at the end, just the same way they were at the start. It was pretty incredible. It is up there as one of the greatest matches of all time, I think.
I feel immense sympathy with the individual or individuals responsible for cutting the edits on the YouTube page for the Roland Garros page, because I was watching this with a few people and they went out of the room and came back and I said, you missed an unbelievable point there. And I was like, don't worry about it, there'll be something else in 2 shots time. And that was the case. These lads were booming their forehands back and forth to each other, hitting like winners that would have beaten 99.9% of other players on tour right now, as in world number 3 down, and yet the rally was only getting going. Like, Simon, I was kind of being mildly facetious when I said they make Nadal, Federer and Djokovic look average, but are we talking about basically 2 freaks of nature here that we haven't seen before?
Yeah, you're absolutely talking about 2 freaks of nature. I think Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Murray, they were all freaks. All these guys who get to the top who take the game to another level, they're definitely freaks because it's just not normal. It's not normal to see the ball being hit that hard so consistently. I mean, there were not that many mistakes. It wasn't an amazing match at first. First set and a half, I thought Alcaraz was a little bit off. Wasn't quite managing the situation very well. But somehow he got the energy. The crowd really helped him. And yeah, you're right. The level that they hit the ball at, the speed they hit the ball at, they've definitely upped it from Federer and Nadal time. I mean, I don't think you could compare it. There were lots of people yesterday saying, these two would have beaten Nadal. And it's like, well, hang on a minute.
John McEnroe
this guy won 14 Roland Garroses. I think Nadal would have found a way to do it. And technology improves all the time so that they can hit the ball this hard. They're in the gym every day. They're working so hard to get this strong. But the rallies, it was like, the computer game, it was like Pong, wasn't it? It was just like the ball going back and forth, speeding up all the way through.
This could have been, the narrative for this could have been like good against bad, let's say, in one way, because it could have been, a very pure Carlos Alcaraz versus Yannick Sinner, who's just come back off his drugs ban. But as Tommy here was saying earlier in the show, it's like there's a lot of love between the two of them, as we saw post-match. They seem to be good friends. And I wonder, was that, kind and reciprocal relationship, was that mirrored in the crowd there live on Chatrier? Were the crowd kind of 50-50 split, or was there a preference for one of the players?
It felt like they were 50-50 split. There might have been a little bit more in favour of Alcaraz. I mean, there were more. The Spaniards were loud. The Spanish crowd were loud. Right behind where Carlos's bench was a group of Spanish fans or fans of Alcaraz who were up every time he came anywhere near them, and they were up shouting at him. I mean, it was one of those amazing occasions. Dustin Hoffman was sat in the front row.
He was loving
on the side. He was there all the way through. He's 87. That guy. I don't know how he managed it. 5.5 hours. He looks great on that. But yeah, I think I felt like that maybe Alcaraz had a bit of an edge in the crowd, but not much. Sinner's a very popular player, as you say. Despite that 3-month doping ban earlier this year, I think a lot of the players, and especially led by Alcaraz vocally at the time, sort of feel like they don't think he did anything wrong. So they're not feeling like they're being screwed over or anything like that when he's playing in a Grand Slam final.
What exchange or shot was the absolute highlight for you? Because there's so many options here. You had in the fourth set Sinner, love 40 up, and Alcaraz served 3 championship points. It's the first 2 shots long, the third one off the net, but the third one was a really close rally. And then Alcaraz serves for the championship at 5-4 in the final set, but only gets to 15 in that game. And then ends up having 7 championship points in the deciding tiebreak, which Arthur here was asking me earlier, has that ever happened in Grand Slam history where someone has 7 championship points in a row? But even then, you still wouldn't really rule out Sinner until it was all said and done. I mean, it's very hard to pick the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I think there was a moment. It was what's interesting. It's not even like one shot or anything, but Sinner led by 2 sets and a break beginning of the third set. But somehow there was a moment when I think Alcaraz held serve early in the third set, and he waggled his racket towards his team. I was thinking, what are you doing? How come you think you can come back from this? You're acting now like you're confident. What's going on? So he just changed the feeling of the match in that one instant, and then the next game he goes and breaks back. Suddenly the whole thing starts to change, and I just think his mentality that to never believe you're beaten. I mean, I thought I'd seen it all with Rafael Nadal, working on every point felt like it was match point to us. But Alcaraz never stopped believing that he could come back, despite despite everything looking like it was going the other way.
Simon, Alcaraz's record in 5-setters, in 5th sets, is reckless. It's remarkable, really. Yeah. What do you put that down to?
I think it's a bit like Nadal. I think he thinks that if he's gone to a 5th set, it means that he's pushed the other guy, or the other guy has pushed himself so hard to actually get there in the first place that he's got less left than he does himself. That the effort that it takes to keep up with Alcaraz over 2, 3, 4 sets will pay off in the end for him. And so that inner belief, and when you start to rack up those wins, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? You believe that you're going to win in 5 sets. His record in deciding set tiebreaks, I don't know if you saw that one, is 12-2.
Wow.
Now, that's nuts.
1976 was the last Italian winner, I believe, the men's side, the French Open. Now, Yannick Sinner is only 23. He's already won 3 Grand Slam titles, so he's back-to-back Australian Open champion. He won the US Open last year as well. And, there's so many attributes to his game which are generational, but one of them seems to be his temperament. Did he freeze at that moment when he had it? or was this a case of Alcaraz performing to such a level that nobody could cope with him?
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it. On the 3 match points, I don't think Sinner, I think he would agree that he didn't go for it as such. He wasn't trying to hit clean winners, and he ended up making mistakes on them. But so you could accuse him perhaps of being a little passive and maybe hoping that Alcaraz was just going to miss, as he had done to that point, or in that game. But I think you're right about his temperament. He will feel like once he settles down a bit, I mean, he's obviously going to be gutted. He was hurt last night. He was pretty shell-shocked. But he will feel like he's improved on last year when he got to the semis, lost to Alcaraz in 5. And I think he will be able to shake it off better than most players would. It's not going to be easy, that's for sure. But, he played unbelievable tennis for a lot of the final. On a surface, on clay, which he's good on, but it's not yet his best surface. So I think he'll be fine in the end. But it'll take a little bit of getting over. And the fact that he's now lost the last 5 in a row to Alcaraz, will start to play on his mind a little bit.
Yeah, Tommy was mentioning that a few minutes ago too, and that is stark. But what's amazing here, Simon, as well, is that this was the first Grand Slam final meeting between the pairs. And they are young, but they've already done so much. So I mentioned, Sinner's 3 Grand Slam titles, but that's Alcaraz's 5th now. So back-to-back in the French Open, back-to-back at Wimbledon and the US Open too. So all he has left is the Australian Open. And I do wonder where this goes with these two now. Is just the start of it, because when Federer and Nadal first met in the Grand Slam final, it was a no contest, really. And Djokovic, it took him years to get into the swing of things. But this was a classic from the start. Right now, that's 1 against 2 in the world. Who do you think is actually the better player overall, Alcaraz or Sinner?
Well, I think it slightly depends on the surface. I thought Alcaraz was going to win yesterday. I didn't think he was going to go down 3 match points in the first place, but I thought he had more variety. He could do more things on a clay court, use his drop shot, use a little bit more height on the ball, change the spins a bit better than Sinner does. Sinner's quite mechanical in the way he plays. He's very up and down, smacks the ball incredibly hard, amazingly good at it. But is probably better on a hard court than Alcaraz slightly. So it changes on the surface. Grass. I think they're both good on grass. Alcaraz is probably a little bit further ahead. I think Alcaraz has more to his game, but when Sinner's on his game and playing his absolute best, he's probably the best. But going back to your point about these two sort of separating themselves from the rest, I feel like there's a window now for these two over the next couple of years to really rack up slam titles. We could be seeing them on 8, 9, 10 within a couple of years, both of them, because they have, they're definitely the best 2 players in the world. Djokovic, on his last legs, pretty much, maybe a threat at Wimbledon, but it's a struggle to see him consistently fighting for slams age 38. It's beyond even him, I would say. And the young guys coming up are still maturing. So Jack Draper's got a big game. Joao Fonseca, this young Brazilian's amazing, but they're still a couple of years away, perhaps, from being fully rounded players. So there's a big opportunity for these two.
Before we go, on Novak Djokovic, lost in straight sets on Friday in the semi-final to Jannik Sinner, but seemed quite happy because he was getting the adulation from the crowd that he seemingly so desperately wants throughout his whole career. We saw the same in the US Open final in 2021 when he lost to Daniel Medvedev, and he was in tears because of the respect he was getting. But he did say afterwards, Djokovic, that might be the last time you see him at Roland Garros. Does he look, finished is a harsh word, but does it look like he's on the wind down for you?
Well, it looks like, it's still, he's still arguably 3rd, 4th best player in the world.
Yeah.
But which is obviously quite something. But I think he realised at times in that match with Sinner that he just couldn't beat him. He played great, I thought. Second and third sets, he played really well. Grass, I think, is his big opportunity. The surface gives him a little bit of extra help, and he moves better on it than most players. Obviously, having won it 7 times, and he'd love to get the 8th to equal Federer. I think that would give him a little tickle to do that. But I think this could be. I think this is likely to be his last year. He might give Australia one more go because he's got such a great record down there. But it's just hard to keep going at this age, and the motivation. You see him in between Grand Slams. He's got not much left in the tank for those other tournaments. So yeah, we'll see. I would never rule out Djokovic, but it's hard to see him winning another one.
Simon, just a quick one before you go. I was struck afterwards in the ceremony by the magnanimous nature of the speeches that Sinner gave and Alcaraz gave, and the relationship between the two of them. It was in complete contrast to Sabalenka and Goff You know, that was incredible to see.
I know, yeah. I mean, Sabalenka, in especially in her press conference, talking about, you know, if Swiatek had beaten me, then she'd have beaten Goff. That was classic sort of junior talk. But she issued a bit of a statement yesterday, apologising a little bit for the way she acted, but said, you know, she's trying to be honest. Yeah, these two, I mean, they're very, you know, you could accuse them of being a bit vanilla in terms of their personalities.
You want that bite. You want that bit of bite, don't you?
You do want a little bit of edge between players. It does help, especially in rivalries. That would be a good thing. I think the thing with these two is that they are very good friends. They just their rivalry feeds off their ability. They just bring the best out in each other on the court, and they still have the edge to win. But they're not the kind of personalities to go and sort of talk the way Sabalenka did about her performance and her opponents. They're much friendlier, as you said, a lot of respect between them. I think they're both pushing each other on. They're both making each other better players, which is where the rivalry is great.
Yeah.
And as I said, they tend to bring out the best each other, and they play unbelievable tennis.
But it's the first Grand Slam final between the two of them. Maybe if Sinner or Alcaraz gets a couple up on the other, that might change, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe if Alcaraz keeps winning and Sinner has to change it up a little bit, that would be interesting, yeah.
Simon Cambers, a pleasure. All the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Carlos Alcaraz, right, was also 0 for 8 in when he was 2 sets down up to last night. Like, it was just unbelievable. You mentioned there quite rightly the beef between Sabalenka and Coco Gauff, and it is true, they are friends. They are friends just like Sinner and Alcaraz are. But Sabalenka was livid with herself, right, because it's the second Grand Slam final she's lost this year. She lost the Australian Open final as well, and she's previously lost to Coco Gauff in the Grand Slam final, the US Open the year before last. So there's an element of choking, and that she is her worst enemy. But Tommy, she hit 70 unforced errors on Saturday's final compared to Coco Gauff's 30.
Yeah.
Now, Coco Gauff only hit 30 winners herself, so it was 30-30 for 30, and Sabalenka hit 6 more winners. But it's the unforced nature of it. And she was a set-up, not since 2018 has a woman come from 1 set down to win the French Open, so there was a bit of recent history created there. Yeah,
I was listening to Anne-Marie played some of Coco Gauff's comments afterwards, and they were discussing this beef on yesterday's news round, and like, you talk about the internal pressure, but the pressure Coco Gauff had on her own shoulders, you know, was like ridiculous. Like, her mom was telling her to put on a show and win something to give people back home hope, you know, talking about what's going on in America at the minute, and you know, putting that on herself is something else as well. So that was remarkable for her to go and produce what she did then as well.
All right, throw the French Open in the green. We're actually still in the performance rankings. 1 to go, Arthur. What's happening with Waterford? What happened?
First round of the All-Ireland series, the ladies' football this weekend. Waterford, Dublin, in Dungarvan.
Yep.
Waterford had never beaten Dublin in the championship before. 2 points up with about, I think, 2 minutes remaining.
Just under 2, I think, yeah.
Hannah Tyrrell nails a free, bring it back to 1 point. So you got to picture this, and we have a video of this, it'll help. But you got to picture this where this will start. It's going to be the middle of the park, down Dungarvan. There's about 20 seconds left.
Okay.
And Dublin have the ball at about the halfway line. So this is coming from TG Carr. If we have the footage there, Jojo.
Big chance.
So what's happening here with the podcast?
What we're seeing here. Dublin working down. How many seconds can you see it there?
There's 10, 9 to go.
Yeah, 9, 8, New Year's.
And Dublin a point behind.
Yeah.
And listen to that. On the buzzer. Unbelievable. Now, I suppose where the difference is with ladies football is that once the buzzer goes, it's done. So it's not like the men's, it's not like that play continues on, barring if they'd fouled her. Unreal drama.
Do you know what was key there? There's 2 kick passes, and this hasn't been unlocked yet in men's football by most teams. But there's 2 kick. That doesn't happen without 2 brilliant kick passes there by the Dubs. I was in Cusack Park for the Conor Duke Hooter beater when Meath bet West Meath, and I
like an American diner.
You know, the drama that day, and they tweaked the rule after that. You know, that they all had to go dead after the Hooter. It works in women's football, like it just works. Whereas that day, Keith Curtis put the ball across the square. It's a draw game, like Meath only need a point. Keith Curtis puts the ball across the square. Young Conor Duke from Dunshaughlin wins it, and as he drops the ball, he's a big guy. As he drops the ball from his hand to his foot, the Hooter goes. Now, I got word that the Hooterer that day had moved from the sideline into the stand, and perhaps the Hooter wasn't really warmed up. So that's why the Hooter probably slowed down. But that caused massive controversy. That's the Westmeath and the analysts were going nuts. This was the Dubs, like a clutch team.
Yeah.
You know, delivering with seconds to go on the clock. It's unbelievable to see a team do what they do in that kind of moment. Like, but gutting for Waterford. I know Rich Sheehan was covering it for us, but they'd have been gutted after that.
For the purposes of the power ranks, we'll probably have to put Waterford in amber there. They're not going to be. It's a great result, but they're not going to be. Obviously, would have been a record win if they'd won it. So, from their point of view, they'll be gutted.
You could put the Hooter in the green, though.
The Hooter could be in the green.
Do you know what we could do here? We could put listen to John Kiley after the game complaining about the extra time played on top of the extra time in extra time, right? And this has happened over the years in the GAA where, like, we see a Hooter system that works. We actually see right now when the FRC have put it together, they want this Hooter system in play, that Central Council and the CCCC have not implemented it fully across the board. And I think that's been one of the biggest letdowns this year from HQ, is that cost reasons were put up as one of the barriers. There was things to do with practicalities around other stadiums that it wouldn't work. It works in women's football, and they weren't able to implement it in all men's senior games this year in the championship. It ended up only being in games that were on TV.
Yep.
I think the Hooter system is far better than relying on potentially a referee who has so much else to cover. And I think, you'd be left with no complaints then. And once the Hooter goes, the Hooter goes.
Sinead, performance rankings in the can?